Welcome back, everyone. This is Stormcrow. We've got a new server up on our network. We're going to go ahead and start hitting that with some penetration testing and learn some new techniques and maybe some new tools. So just like normal, we're going to go ahead and we're going to start this off with a net discover so we can find those PCs that are on the network. There's a lot of different tools you can use, but net discover seems to be really quick, really easy. So here, just like we have in the last ones, we're going to ignore the Cisco and the HP. The Cisco, of course, is the firewall between this lab network and our actual network here. And the HPs that we see listed here, this has to do with the virtualization cluster that is running everything for us. The .2222 here, this is just giving people wireless access into this lab environment. So we know our target today is going to be .120. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to hit that with a Nmap scan, just doing a real soft scan on that. We're going to do the T4 for speed. We're going to do the N for no DNS, and we're going to be doing the capital P lowercase n. Remember, this is telling Nmap to scan the IP even if the device doesn't respond to a ping. And we're going to give it the address of our target, 192.168.10.120, and we're going to fire that off. All right, that comes back. We got port 22, port 80, and port 10,000 that are open here. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to do that more thorough scan now. Now, a lot of people have asked, can I just do the thorough scan first? You certainly can, but you're doing it against all the different ports. What I like doing is I do this soft scan like this, and I see what ports are open. Then I can go back and do that thorough scan, only pointing it towards just those ports I know are open. Either way will work. It's just I find it this way a little bit quicker because I'm only running thorough scan on 3 ports instead of everything. So we're going to do the SC, we're going to do the SV, we're going to do the N, we're going to do the PN, then we're going to do the lowercase p, and we're going to define 22, 80, and 10,000. We're going to give it our target, 192.168.10.120, and we're going to fire that off. Now, we know that something must be running on port 80, so we can open up our browser and we can go ahead and browse out to that. That's going to be the 192.168.10.120. And what we see here is literally nothing. This page is completely blank. And if we actually go in and view the source on the page, we can see even the source is blank. So there is absolutely nothing here. Now, as we know, a lot of times we can actually hit a robots.txt. This one does come back, gives us a little bit of information, not very much. And if we look at our scan, we're seeing that there is the robot text there, and it is defining this other directory. And we kind of see that listed here as well. So we can go ahead and try that directory and see what we see. And what we have running here is Opennet Admin. Now, Opennet Admin is subject to some vulnerabilities. So this is definitely something that we can look at for an entry point. So looking at our more in-depth scan, we do show port 22 is SSH. It's running OpenSSH 7.9. We've got Apache 2438 on Debian running on port 80, and then we have a webmin utility running out on 10,000. So what I'm going to do here is, I'm looking at this Opennet Admin as a fairly good entry point for us to get in on. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to utilize that and see if we can gain access using this tool. So what we're going to use is I'm going to go back to the command line here, and I'm going to use a search exploit, and we'll just define Opennet Admin, and we'll see what we find here. Okay, we got 3 different vulnerabilities. 2 of them look like they are actually for the version that we have. It was 18.1.1 is what we are looking at for a version on that. So we've got 2 of them here. One of them actually even looks like it is a Metasploit. This is a Ruby script. So that could definitely be a good entry point. It is a command injection exploit, and this is definitely something that we can use to get in on. So what I want to do is I want to fire up Metasploit here. So we'll get that firing up over here on the other console. Now see, this is located in PHP Web Apps. The Ruby script is 47772. So what we're going to do is we're going to get into Metasploit and we're going to look for this exact same exploit and see if we can just run it right from Metasploit over here. So we're in Metasploit. We're going to do that search for the Opennet Admin. And this is only listing one. It is a ping command injection. So this is actually not the one that we were looking at over here. But Searchsploit does list this. This is a Ruby script. What we can do is we can actually copy that into Metasploit so we can actually utilize it from there. So we just need to do a simple copy of its current location over to the new one. So we're just going to come down here and we're just going to put in our copy command saying that we're going to copy from the user share exploit DB, and this is the Searchsploit database exploits, and then right here PHP Web Apps 4772, which is what we see right here, PHP Web Apps 47772. And we're just going to copy that over to the user share Metasploit framework, the modules and exploits, and that's just going to put that over there into Metasploit for us. So we go ahead and we got that copied over. So what we need to remember, the exploits and that number. That is how we're going to reference it over here. So we're actually going to tell it to go ahead and use, and we're just going to give it that command that we just copied over. And what that is doing, that's going to use that Ruby script that we just copied over there. Now it's using the configured payload, which is a metinterpreter reverse TCP, which is good for me. Anytime we have any kind of exploit open, what we need to do is we need to look at those options, because we need to figure out what we need to give it to work correctly. And so we just look at the things that are labeled as yes, and anything that is blank, we have to give it something here. So our host, which is the remote host, we have to define that. So we need to do the our host. We need to set our host, and we're going to set that to our target of 192.168.10.120. So we've got that set. The other thing we need to set is the L host. This is going to be our local host, so we need to know what our current IP address is, because this is what is going to be used to send that back to. So what we will do a set L host, and we will give it our local IP, which is 192.168.10, and we are at 121. So we define that. Now what I want to point out, and this is true for any kind of exploits within Metasploit, see how this is our host, and that's plural with an S, and down here it is L host, not plural. The plural S here says we can actually use this against multiple targets. Now when we define the R hosts, we gave it one IP address, but we can give it multiple IP addresses. We can actually give it an IP range. So understand, when it is plural like that, like our hosts, we can actually use that against multiples. And you can see even right here, we can give it a range and a CIDR. So we can actually send this out against a lot of different targets. Here we know what our target is, so we're only going to define the two. And we're going to go ahead and run this. And again, that's going out and that's contacting that target. It is actually, checking, is it going to be vulnerable to this exploit? Once the exploit has went through, we're moving into a sending stage where we're sending in that payload. Remember that we were using that pre-configured payload. So we're sending that in, and we are bouncing back that terminal. So here we are at our Met terminal. We are actually in that right now. So if we just type in shell, we're actually going to create a shell here. And one of the things you'll probably get used to, and you've probably seen me do this multiple times, when we get here, I am actually at a shell prompt. If I type in pwd, it's going to give me my working directory. I can do an ID, and it's going to tell me who I am. But I'm kind of used to more of a different kind of shell, letting me know what directory I'm in. And when we start moving around in this server, looking for other places where we can exploit something to elevate our privileges, it is kind of difficult here. We find ourselves hitting the pwd to find out where exactly we are multiple times. So there is a way that we can actually spawn up a bash that we're used to, and we just use Python for that. And it is -C. Then we are going to give it a single quote, and we're going to type import space pty semicolon pty dot spawn, and then we're going to tell it what we're going to spawn. So we're going to do an open bracket, double quotes, bin bash. We're going to close the quotes, close the bracket, close the single, hit enter, and now you see we have what we would normally look at for a prompt. It's letting us know who we are, because our ID actually is www.data. What server we're on, this is the 586-1, and it gives us our directory. So this to me is a much simpler way of moving around, because sometimes on these servers we do a lot of moving around in here to find different things, find different ways for us to elevate our privileges, and being able to constantly see what directory you're in. To me, that is really important, because that's going to save me a lot of time of constantly having to check where in the world I am. So we have actually got into our server. We're only user of a www.data, so we don't have any high privileges or anything yet, but we are in the server, and that's the big first step. So a lot of these, a couple of these videos I have done have been really long because we're exploiting the entire server from boot to root. So what I've decided I'm going to do is I'm going to break these up a little bit. We're going to do the first part of actually gaining access, and then the second video is going to be the actual exploit of escalating our privileges to actually get to root. So this is the first part of this one. I hope you learned something, hope you enjoyed it, and we will get the second video coming to you, and we're going to elevate those privileges, and we're going to gain root. Thank you very much. Hope to see you again.